It should say something like starter code. Oh yeah, there it is, starter code. Yeah, that's the starter code. So you hit on that green button that says code, and then you do download zip. Yeah. So then we'll go to your downloads folder. Probably the first thing you want to do is move it to your desktop. Or if you already have a web type folder for this class, you can move it into there. So it's zip, so you have to double click, yep, to unzip it. Okay, so now go back one step. So why don't you take this and move it to, do you already have a web type folder or do you need to make one?
No, I don't think I have like anything.
Okay, so where do you like to keep your files? Do you like to keep them in your documents or your desktop? That's what I usually.
Well, my desktop's kind of a mess. I can start a new one.
Okay, so yeah, call web typography. And I like to do dashes because that gets you into good practices. Like in web development, you can't have spaces because it's going to think there's two different folders, one called web and one called typography. So you always want to use dashes. Yep, so web dash typography. Yep, and you can do lowercase t too if you want. Just keep it. I just always tell people because like a lot of the languages you're learning this semester are case sensitive. So like you don't want to be chasing down bugs for 3 hours and then realize it's because you made like a capital T, right? Like,
yeah.
That's annoying. All right, so now move from the downloads folder, drag and drop that business card folder. Nice. Okay, so now click into that folder. And then I would just rename that. All right, so now you want to drag and drop that folder into VS Code. Okay, and then drop down the business card, that arrow, yep. And then from your index.html, so your live server button isn't showing up. So there's an extension you have to download first. So over in the bottom, the left bar, the one that's like 3 squares and one's floating away. Yep, that's your extensions. And then you're going to click on that. And then you're going to type live server into that search menu. Yep, and then you're going to hit install. Nice. So this basically makes it so that you see how in the bottom right, you now have a little button that says go live.
Yeah.
So that makes it so that you can like very accurately like see what is going to display on a web browser window.
All right.
So now you can go back up to the files, like in the top left. Yep. And then the other thing you want to make sure that you do is go up to file at the top left, and you can make your web browser, like your code way bigger if you want. Like, no, just I like to code with the two side by side because again, like you don't want to make a bunch of changes and then realize like, wow, I totally broke something. Like how long ago did I totally break something, you know? Okay, so it's great that you changed your title on line 3. So the next thing you want to change is that H3, it's line 14. Nice. And then you want to change that H5 to whatever you want maybe to be like your title. Like, do you want to call yourself a designer? Like,
I might change it, but I'll probably just put designer for now. Well, I'll definitely change it, but.
Okay. And then one thing we went over in class is this idea of like nesting order. So like, do you understand like parent versus children? Does that make sense? Or do you want me to explain it?
That was like pretty much like when you have like the multiple elements inside of each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand that concept.
So the way that this code is built, actually, one of the first things that you want to do is, so see right now on line 16, if you click on that opening div,
yep.
Just click anywhere in the text. So maybe like between the D and the I, one line down. So one of the things that VS Code does for you is it shows you where that closes. So right now there is a problem with this code, right? Because you just want to be able to move designer around independently. you don't want to move designer and your whole icon container around at the same time, right? That's not what you want to do. So instead, you want to put your cursor on line 17, just at the end of line 17, and then do return, so an enter. And then you can do another div. So do the opening bracket, and then div, yep, and then go down one more to, it's okay. Actually, you can just delete that opening div if you want. You just need a closing div. Yep, okay. So, and now you can see, like, we want to be able to show that that H5 is a child of that opening div. So what we're gonna, what you want to do is go to line 17. So go up one, yep, and then hit tab. Yep, so now that's one step indented. So it's like you can tell that, okay, I have this other div called secondary, and then in that is my designer, and now I have this other icon container. So now what you want to do is, there's a few extra spaces, line 20 and 19. You can just go ahead and delete those. And you can just put your cursor at the end of, the beginning. Yeah, exactly. Okay. And then, okay, so now click on line 19 in that opening div. Like click between maybe the D and the I, just kind of click into the word div. Yep. And so now you can see, like, that's where the icon container closes. And now like, you can think of it as like almost like things kind of nested inside of each other. Because I think one of the other things to debug in this code is that there's too many closing tags. So you kind of have to go through and figure out. So the fastest way to do that is to go to line 9, where we open up the entire box container. Yeah, so chances are every single one, line 40, line 41, and line 43, those are all extra closing divs. So this is like, does that logic kind of make sense of kind of how you see where things open and where things close, and then?
Yeah. This, like, doing this one-on-one, definitely, like, already I feel a lot more like capable of doing this.
Nice. Okay, cool. So you can delete 43, 41, and 40, I believe. Don't delete that closing. Oh, you want to undo that. You don't want to delete that.
Nope.
Oh, undo that too.
I did it again.
Body means like close all the content. That close. So you definitely need that, right, on 45. And then closing HTML, that means like close the whole document.
Yeah.
You don't want to get rid of those, but there was a few extra divs. And why don't I let you like kind of walk through it, like get rid of a few and then double check to make sure you didn't get rid of too many.
All right. So like this kind of tells me
where it opens. So like when you click on that and nothing highlights, that means it's extra.
Yeah. And like I'm telling, like you, like this in reality. So like if this one's a div, this one goes to another div.
Yep.
Or like an opening. Like where's this one?
Yeah, there's like that backslash before it. That means it's a closing div. So like you open a division of the page and then you close a division of the page.
Yeah.
And it's very important that you have everything matching, because if not, that's going to give you tons of problems.
Well, aren't there some that just have opening ones, like opening, and they don't have a closing, or they just have a closing?
Like, for example, like horizontal rule, that's one that's just, it's like, you just put in HR, it doesn't have a closing. Yeah, but with divs specifically, like, yes, it has to match. Yeah. Nice, so go down to line 41.
So 41.
Why don't you actually go up to line 9 and click inside of that one? And so yeah, you just put one extra on line 41. Nice. And then one other thing in this code is you have on line 26 and line 32, there's just one X. See like how that's red? that means it's an error. So VS Code is like really great at color coding stuff. So they tell you like immediately if something's wrong. So you can also see that same red quote on line 27. You want to go in and delete that red quote. Nice. All right, so then if you go over to your live server, you should be able to see those changes. Nice. All right, so some of the other things that you're going to want to do is get those social media icons. So
I got it. It's freeicons.io. All right.
So what you want to do is that, that download SVG, show in Finder. And then you might want to open up your, like a second Finder window or go to your desktop, but you want to navigate that file into your business card assets folder. And you probably want to rename it. So semantic tags are so important in this class. So like that means nothing to you, right? It doesn't mean anything to you now. It's not going to mean anything to you in like 3 months from now. So yeah, and then always lowercase. And you don't need to do a dash. I think just Instagram, like, you know, what is another file that's going to be in this folder called Instagram, right? So yeah.
Yeah.
And that doesn't always necessarily play out all the time. Like sometimes you are going to need a higher level of detail because who knows, maybe there's like multiple versions you're using or like different colors or whatever, you know, but I think in the case of this business card, you can be pretty confident that's going to be the only thing called Instagram. And then, yeah, you can, so if you click and bring that in and then you don't want to just let it go into the business card, or if you click into the business card now, you just want to take that Instagram and drag it into assets. So assets is a way that you can keep links and like visual files organized. What I like to have at that top level is just my index.html and my style.css. Like the way I first showed it in the class was just changing that image link so that it was like image source and then assets / Instagram.svg. But what I was saying about how we moved into hover effects after that. So one of the things that you want to do is you want to actually put in that full SVG animation, all of its coordinates, because then you can put hover effects on it.
Okay.
So if you go back over to the left where the file folder was,
Care about this one?
go to that Instagram.svg, yeah. So one of the things that's really cool about this file is like it displays in Illustrator as like a visual file, but it also displays here as code. So it's unfortunate because it's all stacked in one line, but what you could do is you can just click your cursor over there and select all of it. And then just do a Command C to copy. And then head back over to your index.html. So drop down that web typography folder. Yeah, okay. And then rather than the image source equals, say on, do you want this to go first, Instagram to go first?
Yeah, it's gonna be second actually.
Okay, so change the image src assets equals square on line 27 or 28, I can't tell. Yeah, replace that and say delete that and then paste in just the whole thing, get rid of the image src too. Yeah, the whole line, just paste in that other text. Nice. Okay, so now when you go over to your live server, you should see the Instagram logo.
That's awesome.
Nice. Okay, so you want to do that for the 2 other logos too. Just go in and get the ones that you want. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
What would I do for something like, because one of my logos, it was like a www dot, like I just made it up, like to represent.
Website?
Yeah, I mean, if you can see my screen still. This is like kind of the.
I mean, that you can set and pick what typeface you want it to be.
Okay, yeah. I'll do text then.
Yeah,
like,
so maybe I would say now spend some time with like getting this closer to what your wireframe is. So like,
yeah,
if probably because it looks like you on your name, like your other side, you don't have your name, you know, like I think that for you goes like you might want to cut out that H3 and instead put it in your front side in that opening div.
Yeah. I can definitely spend a lot more time with it. Like I feel like now I'm actually in a place where I can like explore it and like do more things. Like where I was at, I just felt like I had no clue.